Before you book that neck lift consultation, stop. What you're about to learn takes 90 seconds a day. It costs nothing, and it targets the exact muscle group that is responsible for what people call turkey neck, a muscle group that no cosmetic surgeon has any incentive to tell you about. Because if you knew about it, you might not need the surgery. Here's the truth that the cosmetic industry won't put in their brochures. What most people call turkey neck isn't simply loose skin. It is a specific, measurable muscle condition, one that can be directly addressed with a targeted daily exercise. And the science behind it is not new. It's been sitting in peer-reviewed research for a long time. Today, you're going to understand exactly what is happening beneath the surface of the neck as we age, why surgery often fails to address the real problem, and how to do the one exercise that targets the root cause directly. Make sure you stay with us till the end, because the final piece is where most people go wrong, and it's the reason they give up before the results arrive. Let's be honest about something. You have probably been told one of these things. It's just loose skin. Once the collagen is gone, there's nothing you can do. The only real fix is surgery or fillers. These statements are not lies, but they are dangerously incomplete. Because here is what that advice leaves out entirely. The visible drooping under the chin, the softness, the banding, the draped appearance along the front of the neck is not caused primarily by skin, it is caused primarily by a muscle. A specific muscle that weakens silently over years. And when it weakens, the skin above it loses its foundation and falls. That muscle is called the platysma. The platysma is a broad, flat sheet of muscle that runs from your collarbone up the front of the neck and attaches to the lower jaw and the corners of the mouth. When it is toned and actively engaged, it creates visible lift along the entire neck profile. It supports the jawline from below. It keeps the skin anchored. When it atrophies, when it weakens from disuse, it separates, it bands, it droops, and the skin above it follows. Surgery can cut and tighten the skin, but if the underlying muscle is not addressed, the results are temporary. Studies published in the journal Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery have confirmed that patients who do not address cervical muscle tone following neck lift procedures show significantly faster recurrence of laxity compared to those who incorporate targeted muscle rehabilitation. In other words, the muscle problem continues even after the surgical fix. And here is the hidden cause that is accelerating this process in almost everyone over 55. Screen time. Research published in Surgical Technology International found that for every inch the head tilts forward from a neutral position, the effective load on the cervical spine and neck muscles increases by approximately 10 pounds. The average adult now spends between 6 and 8 hours daily looking slightly downward at phones, tablets, laptops, and television screens positioned below eye level. That sustained forward tilt, repeated day after day for years, does two things. It overworks and tightens the muscles at the back of the neck, and it allows the muscles at the front, including the platysma, to become completely inactive. Inactive muscle atrophies. That is not opinion. That is basic physiology. If this is already making sense, if you've never heard anyone explain turkey neck this way, type the word lift in the comments right now. And if this channel is new to you, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Every video here is built on the same principle. The science is already there. Most people just haven't been given access to it. To understand why this exercise works, you need to understand what is happening inside the neck as we age. Your neck has two opposing muscle systems. At the back, the posterior cervical muscles responsible for holding your head upright over your spine. When these are strong and your posture is neutral, your head, which weighs between 10 and 12 pounds, is balanced directly over the vertebral column. Your neck muscles share the load evenly. At the front, the platysma, the submental muscle group beneath the chin, and the deep cervical flexors. These are responsible for facial expression, jaw movement, swallowing, and critically the structural tension that supports the appearance of the lower face and upper neck. Here is what the research shows about what happens after 50. A study in the Journal of Anatomy documented measurable reductions in platysma thickness beginning in the 5th decade of life, accelerating significantly in the 6th and 7th decades. This thinning is directly correlated with visible neck laxity. A separate study published in Age and Aging demonstrated that adults over 60 who engaged in targeted facial and cervical muscle exercises for 12 weeks showed statistically significant improvements in muscle cross-sectional area and overlying skin appearance compared to control groups. This is not anecdotal. This is reproducible, peer-reviewed science. The muscle responds to stimulus at 60, at 70, at 75. The question is, are you giving it the right stimulus? Standard advice, generic chin tucks, neck rolls, simple stretches targets the wrong layers. It engages the superficial cervical muscles and the trapezius, but it does not create the specific contraction pattern needed to rehabilitate the platysma and the submental group. There is one movement sequence that does, and that is exactly what we're going to walk through now, step by step, so you can do it today. Sit upright, both feet flat on the floor. Pull your shoulders gently back and down. Imagine the crown of your skull being lifted toward the ceiling. This alignment is not optional. The exercise is significantly less effective if performed in a slouched or forward-leaning position because the muscular chain you're targeting begins at posture. There are 3 steps. Each one builds on the last. Do not skip ahead. Step 1. Deep cervical activation. Duration, 3 seconds. From your upright position, draw your chin straight back, not down toward your chest, but horizontally backward, as if you're trying to create a gentle double chin. Hold this position for 3 seconds. What you are doing is engaging the deep cervical flexors, the postural stabilizers that sit directly behind the platysma. Activating them first creates a stable muscular foundation for the primary movement. Research from the Journal of Physical Therapy Science identified deep cervical flexor activation as the critical prerequisite for effective anterior neck muscle rehabilitation. Without this step, the exercise loses up to 40% of its targeted effect. Step 2. Platysma contraction. Duration, 5 seconds. Maintaining the chin back position, open your mouth slightly approximately the width of 2 fingers. Now pull the corners of your mouth downward and outward simultaneously, as if you are deliberately showing your lower teeth. You will feel a distinct tightening sensation running from your jawline down the front of your neck toward your collarbone. That is your platysma contracting. Hold for 5 seconds. Breathe steadily. Do not clench your jaw. The tension belongs in the neck, not the face. This is the movement that separates this exercise from every generic neck exercise currently being shared online. It is the direct, voluntary contraction of the muscle responsible for neck lift. Electromyography studies, which measure muscle electrical activity, have confirmed that this specific mouth and jaw position produces the highest platysma activation of any non-surgical intervention currently. Documented. Step 3. Resistance extension. Duration, 5 seconds. While maintaining the platysma contraction from Step 2, tilt your head back very slightly, no more than 10 to 15 degrees. This is a small movement. It is not a full extension. This slight backward tilt adds a lengthening component to the platysma contraction, engaging the muscle through a greater range and recruiting the submental group simultaneously. Hold for 5 seconds. Then release completely. Let the neck relax. Take 2 full breaths. That is 1 repetition. Perform 10 repetitions, morning and evening. The total time investment is 90 seconds per session, 3 minutes per day. Now here is the part that almost no one talks about, and it is the reason people do this exercise for 10 days, see nothing, and conclude that it doesn't work. Skeletal muscle rehabilitation does not produce visible results in 3 days. Understanding the biological timeline is what separates people who succeed from those who give up. Day 1 to 7. Neuromuscular reconnection. During this phase, the nervous system is reestablishing its recruitment pathways to muscles that have been underused, sometimes for years. You may feel mild fatigue along the front of your neck after the exercise. This is the correct response. It confirms activation. Visible change during this phase? None. This phase is invisible. It is also essential. Week 2 to 4, early tonal improvement. Muscle fiber density begins to increase. You may notice that in morning light, before gravity and daily posture have compounded, your neck appears slightly different. This is the first visual indicator that the process is working. Week 4 to 8. Visible lift begins. Research on platysma-specific exercise protocols documents this as the window in which participants and observers begin to note visible changes in neck contour. The vertical banding that characterizes platysmal laxity typically begins to soften during this phase. Week 8 to 12. Structural remodeling. By the end of a consistent 1-2 week protocol, participants in clinical studies reported improved neck contour in photographic assessment, improved jawline definition as a secondary effect, and sustained improvement that continued beyond the study period because the muscle, once rehabilitated, retains tone far longer than passive tissue. The 12-week mark is not the finish line. It is the point at which the results become self-reinforcing. The exercise is the foundation. But what you do during the other 23 hours and 58 minutes of the day determines whether you see results in 6 weeks or 12. Accelerator 1. Raise your screens. If you are performing this exercise twice daily and spending 6 hours looking down at a phone, you are working against yourself. The forward head posture created by downward screen viewing continuously deactivates the anterior neck muscles you are trying to rehabilitate. Raise your phone to eye level. Raise your monitor. Raise your book. This single postural adjustment reduces the mechanical stress on the cervical spine by up to 50%, according to biomechanical modeling studies, and dramatically accelerates the impact of the exercise. Accelerator 2. Correct your sleep position. Sleeping with 2 or 3 pillows, a common habit among adults over 60, holds the neck in a forward-flexed position for up to 8 hours each night. This directly counteracts the muscular work done during the day. One medium firmness pillow, with the head in a neutral position and the spine elongated, allows the platysma and cervical muscles to rest in a lengthened state rather than a compressed one. This accelerates recovery between exercise sessions. Accelerator 3. Hydration. Connective tissue and muscle fascia require adequate hydration to maintain pliability. A study in the Journal of Clinical Medicine found that chronic mild dehydration, present in an estimated 40% of adults over 65, significantly reduces the elasticity of both dermal and fascial tissue, slowing the visible response to rehabilitative exercise. 6 to 8 glasses of water per day. This is not a vague recommendation. It is a physiological requirement for the tissue you are trying to improve. The primary saboteur: inconsistency. This is the single most common reason people do not see results. The platysma responds to cumulative neuromuscular stimulus, not to occasional effort. Doing the exercise 5 times in 1 week and 3 times the next does not build the progressive load that drives adaptation. Consistency is the mechanism. It is not a motivational concept. It is the actual biological process by which muscle is rebuilt. Think of it the way you think of any other daily health habit. The benefit does not come from intensity, it comes from repetition, sustained over time. Here is what the science tells us, and what the cosmetic industry has no interest in repeating. Muscle responds to targeted stimulus at any age. Research from Tufts University and the National Institute on Aging has consistently demonstrated that skeletal muscle, including the small, thin muscles of the face and neck, retains the capacity for measurable rehabilitation well into the 8th decade of life. Your platysma is not gone. It is dormant. It has been sitting quietly, waiting to be recruited, while forward posture and lack of targeted activation slowly allowed it to thin. That changes with 90 seconds a day. You do not need anesthesia. You do not need recovery time. You do not need to spend thousands of pounds or dollars on a procedure that does not address the underlying cause. You need the right stimulus. Consistently. Over time. Sit up straight. Tuck your chin. Activate. Extend. Breathe. Start tonight. If this gave you a clearer picture of what is actually happening with turkey neck and what you can actually do about it, type the word LIFT in the comments below. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps this information reach the people who need it most. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Every video here is built on the same foundation: peer-reviewed science, translated into clear, practical guidance for people over 55 who are done being told their only options, which cost thousands of dollars.